Welcome back. This is Mr. James. It is day 5 of week 6, so your last day of the week. We've got reading lesson 16, where we're going to finish up reading our text. So make sure you have your text collection with you, and make sure you are ready to follow along. And you hopefully have your questions with you as well, so you could maybe be pausing the video and answering those questions as they come up. Our enduring understanding is readers understand that texts can have multiple themes and main ideas. We talked about main idea of the first part of our text yesterday. And our essential question is, how do readers determine multiple themes and main ideas in text? So that's what you should be able to do by the end of this unit or module. And today's objective is I can determine main ideas and key details. So not only what the main idea is, but what facts from the text you have to support that being the main idea. We're going to finish up our text starting on page 113. If you remember last time, we know that the settlers were in some trouble and they just got through the time of starvation. And so the page that we're beginning with here in your text has the heading of a new beginning. So maybe we're going to find out what happens after this period of difficulty that the settlers were going through.
A new beginning. In the late spring of 1610, a single ship sailed into Jamestown Harbor. The passengers and crew were shocked by what they found. The few remaining settlers were eager to leave. They packed up what little of value they had and climbed aboard the ship, ready to return to England. Was this finally the end of Jamestown? As the ship began to sail down the James River, 3 more English ships appeared. They were bringing more colonists, some soldiers, and food and supplies to the colony. The new governor, Lord Thomas de la Warr, for whom the state of Delaware is named, was aboard. He ordered the fleeing colonists to turn around and go back to Jamestown. De la Warr took charge of the colony. He set out to change the way the colony was run. He put the new settlers to work immediately. The colony now tried harder to get along with the Powhatan. For several years, the two groups were able to live together in peace. Jamestown would survive. But how would the settlers earn money? Royal Governor Lord de la Warr arrives in Jamestown. Brown gold. By now, everyone knew that no gold or silver was to be found in the Virginia colony. The colonists needed to find some other way to make money. One of the settlers, John Rolfe, had an idea. Smoking tobacco had become popular in Europe. Tobacco grew wild in the Virginia colony, but it tasted harsh and bitter. Rolfe began experimenting with tobacco plants. After many tries, Rolfe grew a plant that had a sweet taste. In 1614, he sent the first of the new tobacco to England. The people loved it. Jamestown had a future. By 1616, the colony was sending more than 2,000 pounds of tobacco to Europe. Everyone rushed to grow tobacco. Many colonists stopped growing food crops to plant all their land with tobacco. They even planted it along the streets of the town. The governor insisted that every colonist grow at least some corn. Otherwise, the colony would go hungry. At least the colonists had a way to make money. For the first time, they were working hard. Maybe the colony would make it after all. Tobacco farming made the colony profitable. John Rolfe and Pocahontas. Because of tobacco, John Rolfe became one of the most famous colonists. He is also remembered for another reason. He married Pocahontas, daughter of the Powhatan chief. One day, Pocahontas was visiting friends when the settlers kidnapped her. The Powhatan and the settlers were not getting along. The colonists hoped to trade Pocahontas for peace with the Indians. Chief Powhatan did not reply to this offer for 3 months. During this time, the colonists treated Pocahontas well. She learned English. She learned the manners of a proper English woman. She became a Christian and was given the name of Rebecca. She felt at home with the settlers. Pocahontas met the tobacco planter John Rolfe. The two fell in love. Rolfe wrote a letter to the governor asking to marry her. Pocahontas also asked Powhatan. Both men agreed. The wedding was held in April 1614 in the church in Jamestown. Pocahontas's father did not come, but her uncle, an important chief, came for the ceremony. Voices from America. It is Pocahontas, to whom my hearty and best thoughts are, and have been a long time. John Rolfe, in a letter to the governor. The wedding of Pocahontas and John Rolfe. The Peace of Pocahontas. Rolfe and Pocahontas had a baby boy, Thomas. The young family went to England on a visit. They went to attract new settlers to the colony and to help tobacco sales. People became very interested in Pocahontas. She was known as Lady Rebecca. King James I and Queen Anne received her. She had her portrait painted. Pocahontas became popular in London society. While in England, Pocahontas became ill. Just as the young family was ready to return to Virginia in 1617, Pocahontas died. She was only 22. John Rolfe, alone and sad, returned to Virginia. Thomas stayed with relatives in England and went to school there. When he was a young man, Thomas returned to Virginia. Massacre. Pocahontas and John Rolfe's marriage helped keep the peace for a while. Chief Powhatan made sure of that. Then, in 1618, Powhatan died. His brother became the new leader of the Powhatan people. This new leader did not like or trust the English. He planned to get rid of the settlers once and for all. He took his time to prepare. He wanted to take the settlers by surprise. After years of peace, the colonists felt safe. They stopped carrying guns everywhere. They traded with the Indians. Peace seemed to rule the day. Then, in March 1622, the Powhatan chief led a group to Jamestown. They came to trade furs and corn for English goods. At least, that is what the settlers thought. Suddenly, the Native Americans turned on the settlers. They killed about 350 colonists, roughly a third of the total. One of them was John Rolfe. The Powhatan attack. The Native Americans are defeated. The massacre of 1622 was another setback for Jamestown. It also marked the beginning of the end for the Native Americans. The colonists armed themselves. They started regular attacks on the Indians. They destroyed crops and burned Indian villages. Native Americans' arrows were no match for English guns, and many Indians were killed. They learned that the colonists could not be beaten. Voices from America. We may now, by right of war and law of nations, invade the country and destroy them who sought to destroy us. Edward Waterhouse, a settler. After the massacre, the colonists began to attack the Indians. The Virginia colony grows. Few people in England wanted to move to the Virginia colony in its very early years. They had heard of the sickness, the unfriendly Indians, and the starvation. However, as time passed, they saw how successful growing tobacco was. Settlers were becoming rich. Also, the danger of Indian attack was fading. Leaders of the colony wanted more settlers, so they offered 50 acres of land in the colony to anyone who would pay for the trip. And for each additional person you brought, You got another 50 acres. A person with some money could quickly put together a large piece of land. For many, this was a great opportunity. The Virginia colony began to attract more settlers. In 1619, more than 1,000 settlers came to Virginia. Another 3,500 people arrived over the next 3 years. Many were hard-working people. Some were beggars. Others were teenaged orphans. All of them hoped to make a better life for themselves.
All right, and that's where we stop today. Thanks so much for joining me.